your optimism, your mindset, your outlook on what is pain and injury, and your ability to handle that is going to be absolutely critical in your recovery process. Toughness grows when you safely expose yourself to those challenging situations, those painful, uncomfortable situations. So get comfortable with discomfort. It's all about how can I push that comfort a little bit further into discomfort regularly, and I'm more comfortable. I become more comfortable here. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. You can't play baseball or live a meaningful life without pain. You're going to get dinged up. You're going to get bruised. You're going to get embarrassed. You're going to get heartbroken. It's part of the game, part of life. The question isn't if it's going to happen. The question is, how are you going to respond? Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Next Season Podcast, episode 37. This is part 2 of our deep dive into pain and toughness. And if you haven't listened to part 1 yet, hit pause, go back and check that one out. We broke down the neuroscience of pain. There was a lot of information. It was kind of all over the place. What it is, why it's protective, how your brain and your body can team up to create the experience of pain, okay, the good and the bad. And today, we're moving from understanding pain to mastering pain. And I'm going to give you some simple, actionable tools that you can use to build toughness and resilience and grit on the field, in the weight room, and in life. So here's the plan. We're going to first learn how to train toughness over time. Okay. This is about preparation for the pain that we know that we're going to experience. Then I'm going to give you a framework to recover smarter from pain and injuries. So then we're thinking, okay, you get hurt, you get injured. How can we recover smarter? And then I'm going to give you a practical tactic that I use with athletes and I practice my own life to handle pain in the moment, in real time. When something happens and I know I've got to keep fighting, I've got to stay strong, I've got to persevere in that moment when it sucks. Here's what I do. And yes, I'm going to give you a surprising bonus tool at the end for my high school and older athletes. This is not for my younger athletes that I work with. This is for my high school and older. You'll know why when we get to that one. So tool number 1 is about conditioning toughness. Think of this as training your pain system the same way you train your swing or your speed or your strength. Like, you don't just show up to the field and expect to be able to hit or be able to throw. You've got to train. You've got to input the practice reps over time. You can train your body and your brain to be able to handle pain through conditioning for toughness. So step 1 is acknowledge and understand what pain is. That was the first episode. Okay, it's not just physical, it's emotional, it's psychological. Pain is multidimensional, and how you think about it changes how you feel about it. Being hurt is temporary discomfort. You got sore legs after sprints, you got bruises, you got muscle burn. It's uncomfortable, but it's not damaging. Harm is real injury. That's a rolled ankle, that's a torn ligament, that's a pulled hamstring. That's the kind of stuff that if you keep going, you can make it worse. And that's the stop sign. Or at least, at the very least, it's a yellow light saying, you need to slow down, you need to clear the box here, we need to get checked out. Okay? Get some treatment, get back in there, or hey, we got to shut it down. That's the difference between hurt and harm. If you treat every hurt like harm, you're going to spiral and you're going to make your pain worse, because then it becomes more psychological and emotional as well. But if you accept pain as part of growth, your brain is going to dial that intensity down. Step 2, so that's step 1, acknowledge and understand pain. It's multidimensional, and how you approach it with a positive outlook and an acceptance that it's going to happen. Step 2 is gradually expose yourself to discomfort. Toughness grows when you safely expose yourself to those challenging situations, those painful, uncomfortable situations. So the first step in this is get comfortable with discomfort. Push your conditioning. Challenge yourself in the weight room. Every time you take a shower, end it with cold. A whole bunch of things you can do to just condition yourself over time to increase your comfortability with discomfort. Okay, that's step 1. To go next level with this is to get uncomfortable with comfort. Okay? So it becomes, if I got stairs in front of me and I got an elevator, I'm going to skip the elevator. I'm going to take the stairs. I'm going to find little ways that I've got comfort and I've got uncomfortable, right? I've got easy and I've got more challenging. It's not about I've got safe and dangerous. I'm going to go dangerous. Sometimes, yeah, you need to a little bit, but it's all about how can I push that comfort a little bit further into discomfort regularly, and I'm more comfortable. I become more comfortable here. Okay, so skip the elevator, wait before eating, stack those reps of resilience, and just all it is about being intentional of building toughness. I can do this because I'm tough. I can do this because I have grit. I can do this because I'm resilient. I'm not doing this to show off. I'm not doing this out of some, you know, egotistical approach. I'm doing it because it's making me stronger and more disciplined. So that's the second step. Okay. Gradual exposure to discomfort. And then third is mental training. It's your perception that pain is trainable. Mindfulness. It's noticing that sensation without judging it. It's noticing that my back hurts and I'm not going to judge it. It's noticing that my arm hurts a little bit. I notice I feel the feeling. Okay. I'm not going to judge it. I'm not going to beat myself up about it. I'm not going to call myself weak about it. I'm not saying I shouldn't have it. As I notice it, I don't judge it. I'm just aware. And then the second part of that is reframing. So you give pain meaning. This is sore because I've worked at it. This burns because I'm adapted, right? This whatever it is, you associate and you reframe why you experience that pain. And then the third is about self-talk and visualization. You just lock in when it stings, when it hurts. And oftentimes that pain has a mechanism for us to be able to focus. You'll see fighters, go in, get ready for a fight, and they'll slap themselves. They're getting hit by their coaches. Them. That's actually a technique to help lock in. Not only does it condition the body a little bit to take that hit, right? Like you can't, if for football players, you can't just show up week one without having gone through any tackling drills or any preseason drills or any preseason games. Okay. Because you have to get conditioned to get hit again. You have to know what that feels like to get hit again. You're not doing it dangerously, but you have to know what that feels like. Your body has to be able to respond to it. Same thing with anything that we do. It's all part of that mental training process in physical training. So we're going to talk about physical conditioning next. The next part of the mental training, though, is the opposite, and that's catastrophizing. So telling yourself, I can't handle this. I can't do this. Pain is, why do I always have to be hurt? I'm going to have this pain forever. That flips on your brain's alarm system and makes that pain worse and last longer. So that's all part of mental training. So again, your perception of pain is trainable. Have mindfulness, reframe it, self-talk visualization, exposure, and then avoid catastrophizing the pain. Avoid saying things like, I can't handle this, it's going to last forever, because that's going to make that pain worse and last longer. So those are the first three steps. Acknowledge and understand pain, understand the difference between hurt and harm. Second is gradual exposure to discomfort. Understand that it's getting comfortable with discomfort and then getting uncomfortable with comfort. Third is mental training, mindfulness, reframing, self-talk, avoid catastrophizing. Fourth is physical conditioning, strength, flexibility, endurance. All of those things, all those ways that we train our physical body, they raise your pain threshold. It has to do with your central nervous system. Exercise itself can help your brain filter out those pain signals more effectively. The fitter you are, the higher your baseline toughness on average. Stretching, we talked about this in the previous episode. When you stretch a muscle, when you go through a stretching routine or yoga routine, it's not necessarily comfortable. The more advanced ones are not comfortable. They stretch you. But what you're taught to do is breathe through that stretch, breathe through that as long as it's not to the point of damage, right? You have to be able to stretch and kind of push those boundaries a little bit and breathe through it. And that breathing tells your CNS, your central nervous system, that you're okay and you're safe. And you can expand your comfort zone a little bit. You're stretching yourself further. Do that over time. And that's how you gain more flexibility in your muscles. That same principle applies in everything. So physical conditioning can help increase your pain tolerance and your ability to avoid injuries. The fifth step in this is support and recovery. Toughness isn't isolation. You can lean on your coaches. You can lean on your teammates. Obviously, you can lean on your trainers and your doctors and your physical therapists. Okay. Prioritize recovery, sleep, nutrition, hydration, huge factors in physical recovery. Stress management, huge factor in physical recovery. They all make your system more resilient. Research shows that your pain tolerance can change depending on a situation. So, in front of teammates or coach or your crush, your brain can actually turn down that pain dial a little bit and increase your toughness and resilience. That's cognitive control at work. Proof that toughness is mindset as much as it is muscle. The bottom line of all of this whole first thing is how we condition toughness. Again, acknowledge and understand pain, gradual exposure to discomfort, mental training, physical conditioning, support and recovery. All of this can be practiced. It's reps. Reps of recognizing pain, reps of exposure, reps of reframing, reps of recovery. And brick by brick, you build that and you are building your wall of toughness. You're building this wall of grit and resilience. They're going to make you a tougher, more resilient ball player. So that's tool number one, is conditioning toughness over time. Tool number two is about how can we recover faster? How can we recover better? That old school rice approach has been replaced. Okay. Rest, ice, compression, and elevation has been replaced. A smarter, modern rehab framework may sound weird, but it works. And it's called Peace and Love. And this comes from the 2019 article in the British Journal of Sports Medicine. P.E.A.C.E, P-E-A.C.E, and L.O.V.E, L-O-V-E, is an acronym for the steps that you can take along that recovery process. And so peace is the early phase. That's the first 24 to 72 hours after an injury. Love is the rebuilding phase. That's anything that extends beyond that, those first 72 hours. So peace is first. Peace stands for protection, elevation, avoid, compression, and education. Let's get into it. P, protection. Short rest from painful movement. You're going to protect yourself from that painful movement. You're going to isolate that movement, right? Protect it. E, elevation. Get that limb or that injury spot above the heart if possible. Okay, so elevate it. That is something that carried over from Rice. But you're going to get that injured part. If it's a hand, if it's a joint, whatever it is, if you can get it above your heart, get it above your heart. So the protection, elevation. A is avoid anti-inflammatories. Inflammation jumpstarts the healing process. You take Tylenol, ibuprofen, things like that, it can blunt that process. Use only with guidance. There are going to be some times when they're recommended, but in general, a good first start is to avoid anti-inflammatories and allow your body's natural inflammatory system to jump in and hit that injured spot and start the natural recovery process. That's PEA. C is compression. This is another thing that did carry over from Rice. Wraps and sleeves can help control swelling. Compression can be beneficial. And then what's cool is when you take that off, especially if it's really tight, so you can actually do like bands and really tight bands around spots. When you take that off, because you're restricting blood flow to that body part, when you remove that, all that blood rushes back in, and that can really help to kickstart and increase that recovery process with all that blood movement back in that spot. So that's PEAC. E, education. Learn what's happening. Learn what's going on. Talk to a professional. Talk to a doctor. Don't just go Google it, because you're not going to have the specific personal response. That can be good data, but it's not going to be something you're going to be able to rely on. So talk to a professional, get yourself educated on what that is. Understand, again, what is harm versus hurt, what is pain versus injury, and what you can keep going with and what you need to avoid. Guys, that's peace. That's the first 24 to 72 hours. The second phase, the rebuilding phase, is love. And this stands for load, optimism, vascularization, and exercise. Load is about slowly reintroducing movement. Use the 2 to 3 out of 10 discomfort rule. When I had shoulder surgeries, when I'm in a sling and I take that sling off, I didn't want to take the sling off my shoulder, right? I did it because it hurt to move. But that movement, getting movement back right away, was absolutely paramount in the recovery process. So get movement, light loads, 2 to 3 out of 10. It's not going to be stuff that's going to be super painful, but it's going to be a 2 to 3 out of 10 that's going to help you increase that movement. When you don't have movement, your muscles will atrophy and they will start to lose the muscle, and that's going to make things much worse. So that's the L. The O is optimism. Your mindset matters. We talked about this multiple times in the past 2 episodes. Your optimism, your mindset, your outlook on what is pain and injury, and your ability to handle that is going to be absolutely critical in your recovery process. Believing in yourself and in your ability to endure is going to speed up that recovery process. So that's L and O. V is vascularization, blood flow. Okay. Cardio, bike, walk, tempo, right? Once you're cleared to do those things, getting movement in those limbs. Again, the compression and the release, that vascularization, that blood flow movement is going to help you with the recovery process. And finally is exercise. And when I include stim in here. If you've ever used a TENS unit or stim unit, something like that, movement in those body parts in that injured area. Again, exercise, mobility, strength, control. You want to have control. You want to start simple, progress gradually, and that's going to help you in that rebuilding phase. So that's peace and love, protection, elevation, avoid anti-inflammatories, compression, and education for peace. For love, it's about load, optimism, vascularization, and exercise. When you add in nutrition, right, you get plenty of protein. You avoid inflammatory foods. You focus on anti-inflammatory foods. You got good fruits and veggies, omega-3s. You're staying hydrated. You prioritize sleep. All of those things that we should be doing on a daily basis, even more so when we're experiencing pain and injury, your cheapest recovery tools, sunlight, sleep, nutrition, all those things are going to be absolutely critical factors in your ability to recover faster. And it's going to help your mental game too. Smart toughness isn't ignoring pain. It's protect and then rebuild. So peace first and then love. Tool number 3. Let's get a little more practical. So we talked about how we can prepare for pain. We talked about how we can recover from pain. Let's talk about what to do in the moment. When you hit a foul ball off your shin or you tweak something mid-game. And that's where this next tool comes in. It's called the C-Walk. C-Walk might sound weird. I'm not talking about a Snoop Dogg dance move, okay? That's different. I'm talking about S.E.A. walk, okay? The S stands for shake. There's another S word I'm going to talk about in a minute, but for the context of this, we're talking about shake. This goes back to the gate control theory that we talked about in the previous episode. When you get hit by something, when you experience pain, shake it off. Actually shake it. Shake it. Rub that spot. Those touch signals block pain signals, and they kind of close that gate at the spinal level. Is not going to take all the pain away, but it's going to help mitigate it a little bit and bring some awareness to yourself about your ability to endure. So that's the first thing, is shake it off. Then you're going to exhale. Again, one long, slow breath, going to calm your nervous system and take you out of panic mode. Okay. So shake it, exhale, long, slow breath. And then the A is affirmation. And this is a quick self-talk. I'm good. I'm tough. Pain is a signal, not a stop sign. That sucks a lot, but I'm okay. Okay. Well, think about Happy Gilmore, right? The original Happy Gilmore. We watched the second one recently. I got a kick out of it. I liked it. But in the first Happy Gilmore, at the beginning of the movie, he goes in the batting cage and he starts taking those fastballs off his chest and his face, and he goes, "Oh, that sucks a little. I'm okay." Okay. Don't go do that, but tell yourself that I'm good. Tell yourself, "Oh, that sucks a little bit, but I'm okay." That affirmation actually does have a positive effect on your ability to endure pain. Keeps your brain from spiraling. So do those 3 things. You're going to shake it off. You're going to exhale. You're going to bring yourself back to your breath. You're going to keep yourself calm, your nervous system calm. You're going to give yourself a quick positive self-talk. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm going to be all right. And then here's the magic of this. Here's where the walk part comes in. I want you to walk to first base, no matter where you are on the field. Obviously, you get hit by a pitch. Where are you going to go? You're going to walk to first. Okay. You're in left field and you do something like I did. You dive for a ball and you miss it and it hits you in the shoulder and it hurts. I want you to get up and I want you to walk to first base. Obviously, when the play's over, right? You're not just going to leave the ball out there, right? Once you get it back in, once the play's over, I want you to find a spot and I want you to move. I want you to move towards that spot. That movement is going to reduce the pain perception. That forward movement, walking, signals resilience and shows your toughness. It's a reset button. Because what you're doing is you're giving yourself a target and you're moving towards that target. So now all of that control of the situation is back in your hands. It's a reset. So physical, mental, and emotional. Instead of freezing in pain, you move forward. You see this in the military too. Forward movement, center of mass movement. You're going to build confidence every time that you do that. I want you to find a spot. I like to use first base because it's simple, but find a spot that you're going to walk towards and just regain that composure. Wait, make sure the play's over, make sure that everything's safe. If it's an injury where if you keep walking, you're going to break your ankle or something, stop moving. But otherwise, I want you to find that. I want you to shake it off. I want you to exhale. I want you to have an affirmation and then walk to first base. Okay, that's the C walk. Here's the bonus. This is for my teenagers. This is for my college athletes. This is for my pros. Parents, hope you're okay with this. If not, don't do it. But swearing, profanity, is actually a pain management tool. Used strategically, it can help. So the alternate to shake in the C walk is to swear. Research shows that people who swear during pain can hold their hand in ice water longer than people who don't. Why? Because swearing sparks a short fight or flight surge, distracting your brain and boosting tolerance. It's psychological and it's physiological. The psychological part is it lets you release your frustration and feel control of a situation. It's the same mechanism we have for why I'm encouraging you to walk in the sea walk. You release frustration with the affirmation, you acknowledge it, and then you feel control. You take control and you feel it by picking a target and moving towards that target. The physiological is it raises your heart rate and adrenaline, and that adrenaline can help blunt pain. That's why people who are experiencing, they might have an adrenaline spike in a very scary or hard situation. They don't feel themselves having a bunch of pain. They don't experience getting shot, right? They just keep going. But then once that adrenaline wears off, all of a sudden, all that pain is felt. Okay. That's the physiological response. So swearing can help trigger or hit a very short fight or flight surge and allow you to endure in the moment. Okay. Context matters. In the dugout with teammates, probably fine. Around umpires, parents, younger kids, not so much. Don't do it. And if you overuse it, the effect actually fades. So you can't just go around swearing a whole bunch and thinking it's going to work. But used rarely in the right setting, swearing, even in your head, can actually be a legit pain tool. So again, I caution you on that one. But if it fits where you are, who you are, something to think about. Okay, let's bring this all together. Here's the big takeaway. Toughness isn't just enduring pain. It's really mastering it. And when you understand what's happening in your body and your brain, and when you apply these principles, right? Condition toughness over time through physical conditioning, gradual exposure, and your mental training and your support and recovery, understanding how to respond to pain, how to treat pain in the first 24 to 72 hours and then beyond with peace and love and everything that goes into that. Understanding in the moment things we can do. Shake it off, exhale, affirm, walk to first base, walk towards a target, bring control to our situation. That when we do all of those things, you're training your mind and your body together, not just to survive, but to be able to grow stronger, faster, smarter, and handle pain better. If you take anything away from today, I want it to be this. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. You can't play baseball or live a meaningful life without pain. You're going to get dinged up. You're going to get bruised. You're going to get embarrassed. You're going to get heartbroken. It's part of the game, part of life. The question isn't if it's going to happen. The question is, how are you going to respond? And now you have tools to help you prepare for pain, to process and recover, and to better respond in the moment. If you found value in this episode, please share it with a teammate or coach, someone that you want to see get better. Save it for those moments when that pain shows up and you need a mental reset. And of course, subscribe if you haven't already, so every new episode lands right where you can grab it. Lastly, I want you to take action. I want you to pick a tool. I want you to work on it. I want you to get intentional. If you're dealing with an injury right now, if you're dealing with pain right now, you got something nagging, try the peace and love. If you're not already, try some of those elements out in that peace and love and see if that might help you. If you stub your toe later today, try the sea walk or the profanity trick if you're old enough. Okay, see if those work. So shake it off, exhale, affirmation, walk it off, walk towards a target. See if it works. If you don't have any of those lingering injuries or you stub your toe or something like that, make a goal the next 3 weeks. You're going to go into that conditioning mode and you're going to condition yourself for toughness. You're going to acknowledge and understand pain. You're going to learn more about it. You're going to learn about the complexities of pain. You're going to gradually expose yourself to discomfort and get comfortable with discomfort and then get uncomfortable with comfort. You're going to do the mental training. You're going to avoid catastrophizing. You're going to go through physical conditioning. You're going to seek out support and recovery. Get really intentional about your recovery process. Do those things and tell me if it doesn't work. See what it does for your game and your focus and your confidence. And that's how you turn understanding into real toughness. I appreciate you guys. Thanks for being here. Thanks for the support. I'm going to see you next time.